In this video, I'm going to go through an example of writing all of the business functions we've covered from a word problem or word scenario. So if I look here, it says I sell cupcakes at a farmer's market for a price of $3 per each cupcake. So you see here, sell, and how much did I sell them for? And then I'm selling it per each cupcake. That is a clue when writing the function. Okay, and then it says in order to sell the cupcakes, I have to pay a fixed amount or a fixed cost to set up my tent. In addition to that, it costs me $1 per each cupcake to make them. So I have to buy flour and sugar, all the ingredients end up costing me $1 per each cupcake. So the first part says write the revenue function. So again, revenue is how much am I earning from the sale of my product? How much cash or whatever do I earn from selling my product? So I want to look at the sales price. So revenue is price charged per item times the quantity. And so in a lot of these cases, it doesn't tell me the quantity. I'm writing a function. When I input quantity sold, I get an output of revenue. And so when I write that function, because I'm inputting quantity, I'm going to find a Q over here. This is my function notation, my function rule, right? Price times quantity gives me revenue. When I input the quantity items sold, I'm going to get an output of revenue. So let's take a look at what I have here. So if I write this, I know that I'm selling my cupcakes for $3 per means times. If I translate that, $3 times the number of cupcakes is going to give me revenue in dollars. So this is my function for revenue. Next, I want to write the total cost function. How much does it cost me to make and sell my items? So there's always two pieces here to cost. Fixed or initial costs, those costs that don't vary or don't change based upon how many items I sell, plus variable costs. These vary or change based upon how many items that I'm making. So if I make 100 cupcakes to sell, that costs me more than if I make 1,000 cupcakes. All right, so let's take a look at what I have here. I know that up at the top here, it says I have to pay a fixed amount of $100 for a tent at the farmer's market. So it costs me money to be at the farmer's market to sell my items. And then it also costs me money for the ingredients. So if I translate that into my function, cost also inputs the quantity of items sold. I have a fixed or initial cost of $100 for my tent plus my variable cost. It costs me $1 per each cupcake Q. And so in this case, I'm going to input the quantity of cupcakes that I make, and I'm going to get an output of the total cost. Input quantity produced, output total cost in dollars. Now if I want to write my profit function, profit, if I just try to describe it in context, real world words, how much money do I have left over from my revenue after I pay my total costs? So essentially, how much money do I have left to put in the bank? Just because I sold and have in my pocket or my cash register the revenue from my cupcakes, I have to pay for the tent and then I have to cover the costs for each cupcake. So I have to subtract that off. So profit is equal to revenue minus cost. And so in this case, I'm inputting the quantity of items sold and I'm going to get an output of profit. So the amount of profit I make depends on how many cupcakes I sell. So here's my revenue function, 3 times Q. That's from right up here. And then my cost function. Be careful here. This is my total cost function, 100 plus 1 times Q. I have to subtract both those pieces. A lot of people make a mistake where they're not subtracting both parts of cost. Okay, and so now if I want to write this profit function in a simplified form, this is not simplified here. I need to distribute that negative. So then I have 3.0Q minus 100 minus 100Q. And then, oh, that's not 100, that's 1.0 minus 1Q. Now I'm going to combine like terms. 3Q minus 1Q is equal to 2Q. So if I come down here, I can see that I have that formula written out here. 3Q minus 100 minus 1.0Q is equal to profit. When I simplify that, and a lot of problems are going to ask you to simplify completely, that's where I want to combine these like terms here. So 3.0Q minus 1.0Q, I add them together, gives me 2Q minus 100. This is the simplified formula for profit. I input quantity of items sold, manufactured and sold, and I get an output of profit.